started working with women living with disabilities, there were so many questions. People wanted to know if I had a relative that lived with a disability. The answer then was no. But now, the answer is yes. How? Because I know disability. I know what it is to watch others run, and you cannot run. I know what it is to watch others fly, and you can't fly, because you have been de-winged, or you don't have wings, or your wings are broken. I also know what it is to watch others dance, and you can't dance. I know what it is to have a song in your heart, and you can't sing because you have a speech impairment. I know what it is to start the race, the 100 meters dash. You watch others, they get to the finish line. They come back, they pick up the trophy, they go home, they celebrate. How while you're still squatted and waiting for the gun to go off, you're still doing on your marks. I do know disability. I know what it is to watch the beauty of your character, the strength, and the excellence that characterizes everything that you do. They all pale into insignificance just because of a disability. I know what it is to be discriminated against. I know what it is to live with a stigma. Stigma actually is a Greek word which means slave. And when you're a slave, you have no voice, you have no right whatsoever. How? Now, every African parent, you lose your name. If you have a child and your child is Tony, you become Mama Tony or Papa Tony. We have mothers in the house, we can identify with that. If you have Nike, you become Mama Nike or Papa Nike. Now, I come from a family where my parents had 9 children, and I was the 9th, the very last. Though my name is Uri, but I was nicknamed Baby. So I was a baby of the family. At some point, I decided I needed a new name. But that didn't just happen. By that time, I had just gone through the name change. I had heard a song, and that song was Sakadeli by Sonny Adi. Eshama miliki yo, Eshama Sakadeli yo. And I thought Sakadeli was such a nice name. I decided to adopt the name. So I went from door to door, house to house, neighbor to neighbor. I told all the uncles, my friends, their parents, that I didn't want to be called Baby anymore, that I wanted to be called Sakadeli. Now, my mother had already gone through 8 name changes, so she was already Mama Baby. So she didn't know what happened when she was going about her duties in the neighborhood, and they were calling her Mama Sakadeli. And she was wondering what's going on. And they said, Baby had come to warn us that she didn't want to be called Baby anymore. She wanted to be called Sakadeli. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Sakadeli on the screen. Now, I decided to go back to the story so that you can see that this girl was, 1, bold, brave, audacious. She was precocious, very precocious. And then she was also proactive. She took a decision and she decided to do something about it. She was a girl that was going somewhere. She was a girl that knew who she was and who she is, and nobody was going to tell her who she wasn't. Fast forward 17. Now, when you turn 17 all over the world, you're getting ready to go to university, or you're just rounding up high school. Here in my country, we have a general entrance examination, which is called JAM. You do it once, you get lucky, you enter. You do it the second time, you get lucky, you enter. The third time, sometimes the frustration is already setting in. You enter. Now, JAM comes around once a year. Now, when you do JAM 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, something has happened. You have, 1, grown up without a university degree. Secondly, when you grow up with a university degree in the society I live in, you are like a girl that has been raped. Not until in recent times where there's been so much advocacy against rape. When a girl is raped, it's her fault. Her skirt was too short and her dress was too tight. And I saw her walking down the road and she was swinging her hips from side to side, so she had it coming. So here I am. Here I am. I've just grown up. I was 25. I didn't have a university degree, and then I was very pretty. And the way I talked did not help matters. My father was not a rich man by the stretch of anybody's imagination, but he was rich in wisdom. By 8, I had read so many books. There were so many books. He bought educational books. He was building bridges. He bought books in the curriculum. And then he bought general interest books. So there were books all over the place. And so by the time I was entering secondary school, of course, I could express myself 1 or 2 notches higher than the people I interacted with. And I had romanced the dictionary, and I could pick out words that I would use to decorate my classmates when they stepped on my tiny toes. So you can imagine. Here I was, and they were coming, and they were going past. Now, if that was not watching people fly when you couldn't fly, tell me what is. If that was not watching people dance when you couldn't dance, tell me what is. Now, that was such a disability that I was tagged the girl. I did go to school, though, but by the time I went to school, I was married. But as at that time, that was a great disability because I was tagged the fine girl that knew nothing. The girl that spoke so much English that didn't have anything in her head. Now, if I was a boy that kept on going every year, oh, sorry, your name did not come out on this list. It wasn't my school cert that I retook, and it was not my A-levels that I retook. It was JAM. And it was a direct entry. Oh, sorry, you're not from this state. You're not an indigene. Oh, wait for the next list. Oh, wait for the next badge. Because I was doing, okay, let me do JAM. Let me do this. Let me do that. Everybody would have said, you see that boy? The boy is very determined. The boy is focused. The boy is smart. The boy is intelligent. That boy is strong. But I was a girl. She's following men up and down. That's why she's not in school. She's following all the Lagos men. And in fact, it so affected me that I couldn't even date properly because I knew I had an issue. There is a critical construct in our psyche, in our society, that needs to be deconstructed. There is a place for education. There is a place for ability. There is a place for certificate. There is a place for talent. There is a place for all these things. And we need to learn to build bridges if we need to develop as an optimum society. Because when you elevate certificate, we are a highly certificated country. When you elevate certificate above every other thing, of course we will have what we have now. So many people in highest places of authority being immersed in one certificate scandal or the other. There is a place for ability. With all the great things that I was doing, but I didn't get any recognition. But then I was writing. And then people would tell me, would you stop talking the way you talk? Will you stop carrying yourself the way you carry yourself? And I remember then telling them, perhaps if you can author a book on how to write, how to talk, and how to carry yourself without a university degree, then I will read it and I will understand. And I will totally deconstruct my childhood. And maybe your book may make the New York Times bestseller list. But why I'm standing here today is to tell you that I am no different. I was no different from the woman that is sitting down here, sitting on a wheelchair. Or the woman that is watching me and she has to look at another person to understand what I'm saying. I had a picture. I wanted to show a picture and I don't know, it's not showing, it's not going. Now, when I talk about disability, I have just let you know about my educational disability, as it were. But disability comes, any form of disability is the same. Because I remember talking about this with my friend, a friend of mine from Kenya. She said, Uri, I've been married for several years. That means I have, and I don't have issue, and I don't have any child. That means I have a maternal disability. And the other one said, well, I'm about 45 and over, and I'm not married, so that's a marital disability. The truth about disability is it comes with the same thing. Stigmatization. Oh, look at her. She's not married. She's old. It comes with the same thing. Look at her. She's been married 20 years and no child. It comes with the same thing all over the world. Now, I'm talking about disability. I am working with women living with physical disability because I can identify with what they're going through. Now, the United Nations statistics tell us that 15% of the population of the world live with disability. And that's about 1 billion people. And that makes them the largest minority group in the world. And 80% of that group live in poorer countries. Now, 65% of that group are women. Now, all over the world, there's been so much race and so much frenzy in different corners to bridge the gender gap. So there's Women Education Fund, Women Enterprise and Fund financing, Women Health Development, Women's Sponsorship, and I just keep waiting. This is 11 years after the United Nations launched the Leave No Woman Behind. And I'm still waiting to hear, what about Women Living with Disabilities Health Program? What about Women Living with Disabilities Education Fund? What about Women Living with Disabilities Business Development Fund? I just keep waiting to hear. Now, I wanted to talk about one of the women or two of the women that are here. And I guess the prompter is not getting it. When I met Biola Rahman, I was shocked. You see her on the screen. She is a 5-time tennis champion, 2 times gold medalist. She is also a trained manicurist. She lives with multiple sclerosis. She's on wheelchair. Give her a round of applause. She is a woman living with a disability, but she is certainly not a liability. And the next person is Susan. Susan has a diploma in computer science. She has a degree in guidance and counseling. And she has a postgraduate diploma in a course I didn't know existed until I met her. Not until in recent times, Susan was a volunteer in a family planning clinic where she helped couples to understand the benefits of family planning and child spacing. Susan, at a point, was also the best science teacher in her school. Now, there are so many of them. Women living with a disability or women living with disabilities, they are not any or they are not economic liabilities. So it is time for us to begin to build the next bridge, which is the bridge of empathy. Empathy is sympathy in action. We need to build the bridges of empathy into that community. Now people ask me, Uri, are you trying to give back to the society? And I laugh. I said, me, Uri? I don't have money. And I don't give back to society. Because if you think about it deeply, society gives nothing. Society takes and just keeps taking. And when you cannot give to the society, society expels you from its nether region. You can identify with that. Society also sets a benchmark. And then it sets parameters. And when you do not meet those parameters or benchmarks, you become what? Invisible. And if you're a woman, that's a triple jeopardy. An expression I learned from one of my women living with disability, Phoebe, sitting here today. So I cannot give back to society. But there's something I can do, and there's something we can all do. We can partner with humanity because we are humans. And we can build that bridge into the society. We make up society. We cannot let society eat up our humanity. No, we can't. So we have to build the bridges into the society. Now, the report or the statistics that tell us that 15% of the world live with physical disability. The truth of the matter is, if you cannot see the ability in someone, that in itself is a disability. Or so maybe just 85% of the world is living in some kind of psychological disability. Think about it. Before I go today, I would like each and every one of us to realize that it is time for us to begin to equitably, justly, and fairly assess people based on their ability, not on their disability. Because If you ask me now, why do I work with women living with disability? For me, Uri, it is very personal. Thank you.